Hello and welcome to the Voices of Victory podcast show. I am your host, Mario DeLeone, and today is Breaking Free from Negative Self-Talk, Understanding and Transforming Identity Level Language Patterns that Shape Our Self-Concept. It's a journey from self-criticism to self-compassion. If you do want to download my negative self-talk worksheet from Gumroad, it's in the description below. Let's go from here. Let's talk about some neuro-linguistic programming. The NLP logical levels model. So in neuro-linguistic programming, the logical levels model reveals how language operates at different depths of human experience. So each level influences the one below it, with identity sitting at the core of our self-perception. So if you look on the right, we have the I. And I put that there specifically because that is literally the beginning of our identity. When we say, I am this, I am that, I want this, I want that, it all starts from the letter I. And that connects to identity, who I am. Then it goes to beliefs, just right under that, what I believe. Then it goes to capabilities, what I can do. Then it goes to behavior, what I actually do, what I do. And then it goes to environment, is where and when. So here's what you want to understand, is that this is literally how identity level language influences from the top down. Gets into your beliefs, your capabilities, your behavior, your environment, all of that. So language that's aimed at identity, we'll say I am, sits at the deepest level and has the most profound impact on our self-schema, our self-framework, or our self-concept, if you will. Let's go from here. So why identity level self-talk hurts the most? It does self-concept damage. Self-concept is what you think about yourself. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. And self-concept damage, the identity attacks that you do to yourself, it rewrites your entire self-framework. Fundamentally, alters what I think about myself at the deepest cognitive level. So self-esteem erosion, it will erode your self-esteem. These patterns slash and destroy what I feel about myself, creating lasting emotional wounds that affect every aspect of self-perception. When inner dialogue attacks identity, it doesn't just question a single action. It aims to rewrite the entire self-framework, the self-schema. That's the thing. So if you look on the right, we have identity at the core. And we have self-concept is what I think about myself, and self-esteem is how I feel about myself. You see, let's go from here. So there is the science behind negative self-talk. If we look into cognitive behavioral research, persistent negative self-evaluations, such as I'm unlikable or I'm inadequate, they're central to disorders like social anxiety and depression. That's according to the Warnock, Parks et al. Study. The core belief systems. We all have core beliefs. These patterns form the foundation of our negative core beliefs. And it creates a self-perpetuating cycle of self-loathing that becomes deeply embedded in our psychological framework. This is a conscious rethink and Cleveland Clinic. Now, there is a neurological impact, and they've done the studies. It can amplify shame and anxiety responses in the brain. The fMRI studies show that self-referential negative talk activates the DMN, the default mode network, and the amygdala, the neuroimaging research studies. So for those of you that don't know, the DMN, simply put, here's how you can understand the DMN in a simple analogy. Imagine two islands. We have the island of emotion and the island of rationale and logic. The DMN is literally a bridge between the two islands. And it's so the rational part of your brain and emotional part of your brain can pass information back and forth beautifully. So there is a neurological impact on that DMN. Now, when it comes to the amygdala, you start getting into our survival response, our fear, fight, flight, fawn responses. Now, there are behavioral consequences. So the identity statements, they drive avoidance and protective safety behaviors, and they prevent corrective experiences and locking negative beliefs in place. This is according to Chuck and Wells' model of social anxiety. So if you look at people with anxiety, when they're using a lot of these negative self-talk statements, what it's doing is driving their avoidance. They may avoid certain situations, certain people, certain places, because what they're trying to do is create more safety, protective safety behaviors. And what this does is it prevents their ability to try to correct it or make changes to those experiences. So they lock those negative beliefs in place. That's what happens. That's the consequences of it, right? So if you look at someone that doesn't have anxiety, they may have more of an ability to have corrective experiences, right? They may say, all right, I made a mistake, I made an error. Let me go ahead and work on this. I'm adjusting, I'm always changing, I'm always growing. Let me be humble about this, let me work through this. And they learn to have a growth-based mindset rather than a fixed-based. That's the difference. Let's go from here. There are 24 high-impact negative self-talk phrases. These are not the only ones, but these are ones that I listed. They're grouped by identity themes that they actually damage. So self-worth, I'm not good enough, I'm worthless, I don't matter. The competence, I can't do anything right, I'll never succeed, I'll always mess up. The character shame, I'm a bad person, I'm broken, something's wrong with me. The love and belonging, I'm unlovable, nobody likes me, I'm a burden. And then the ones that are close to social identity. I don't fit in, I'm weird or different. People think I'm stupid. And then finally, there's anxiety loops, the what if. Now, what if can be used in terms of exploration and curiosity, but when we say, what if I fail? What if they laugh? What if I can't cope? These things are all future-based thinking. It's all future-based. And to be honest, using what if is a one-way ticket to inducing more anxiety. Because in life, you're not always going to have certainty. You could create your own certainty. There are ways to have uncertainty. And there's also ways of feeling secure about yourself, right? And if you want to induce more anxiety, all you got to do is think of the future. Just don't be present, right? And we have to watch the language that we use, because what that can do is start projecting into the future, and it could create the emotional gasoline for anxiety. Let's go from here. How these phrases erode self-concept? Well, the first understanding is semantic fusion. So if we look at the verb to be glues an evaluation of worthless to the identity. I am worthless, right? And it's like, to be honest, I am worthless. And it just totally puts like this big glue that's there. This is creating a fixed trait rather than a temporary state. So that's semantic fusion. They start to use the semantics of the language to fuse some of these things together. The global generalizers, words like always, never, and nobody. These block any counter evidence, and they reinforce the belief neurologically via the brain's negativity bias. Always, never, and nobody. You always ignore me. Or you never do the dishes, right? Or nobody trusts you because, right? These could be personal attacks from other people, but guess what? You could also attack yourself by using global generalizers. Okay? And then we have neurological anchoring. Repetition builds internal auditory anchor. So auditory having to do with hearing. So fMRI studies show self-referential negative talk and negative talk towards yourself, referring to yourself. It activates the DMN, default mode network, and the amygdala, survival response, and it amplifies shame responses. Aha, see that? Now there is a behavioral ripple. Identity statements, they drive avoidance and protective safety behaviors. This prevents corrective experiences and locking the belief in place, as we discussed. So what can we do? Well, let's get down to it. NLP-informed reframing strategies. So let's talk about the shift level. So we can replace identity statements with state descriptions to reduce emotional impact. So when people say, I am broken, we say, I feel hurt right now. I feel hurt right now is letting you know that that hurt is temporary. It doesn't have to stay there forever. When you say, I am broken, wow, you're talking this long-term statement. You are labeling yourself and you're creating a finality of that statement. So, when it comes to questions, right? We can question universal concepts. So challenge absolute language by asking for exceptions and counter evidence. Like, I always fail, to when is that not true? Have I had some experiences where I didn't fail? Because you can't just always be biased towards the negativity. You have to have some recognition towards the side where there were times that you've actually succeeded, but you're not counting them. It's kind of like that old phrase where people say, count your blessings or your blessings don't count. There's some degree of truth to this, is that, count your successes or your successes don't count. Now, when it comes to installing counter evidence, when we future pace in NLP, that's small wins to weaken the global negative belief. So when we say, I can't succeed or I can't get clients over the phone, we say, next call, I'll share one idea. Next call, I'm going to make sure I reach out to as many people as I can. Next call, I'm going to give it my absolute effort, right? That's important. Or the next call, I'll share one idea. So you can install counter evidence with that. Now, modal cleanup, you can transform impossibility statements into learning opportunities. When people say, I can't do this. Or another one that's really pathetic is like, oh, I'm just not wired that way. You want to talk about excuses, right? And people say, oh, I'm just not wired that way. You say, I can't do this, I'm not wired that way. No, I don't know how yet, right? I don't yet know how, or I'm still learning yet, And the word yet has a lot of value if you look at the work of Carol Dweck when she talks about growth-based mindset. It's like, I'm not good at math yet, right? Meaning you're still working on it. So you see, when you talk in finality, it can be pretty damaging. Let's go from here. So your path forward on this last slide of our show is 1, spot the pattern, recognize the pattern, and journal them. Make sure you journal them. 2, challenge and reframe. We can use NLP techniques like shift levels, question universals, install counter evidence, and of course transform. I'm broken into I feel hurt right now. I'm hurt right now. Practice self-compassion. Replace that harsh self-criticism with accurate, compassionate language. You have to be compassionate towards yourself. So identity-based negatives like I am worthless or I am unlovable, these are linguistic poison pills that research links to low self-esteem, anxiety, and depression. So that's all I'm going to say. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And remember, only share it with people that need it. That's it. Have a great day. See you in the next show.